Well, it's a very nice Saturday morning outside, and I'm over here at my buddy's place. I got my splitter set up and working on this log pile. So the deal here was, this winter, cut down a bunch of trees for a tree project, and I got to take the logs home, but I didn't have room at my place to store them at the time. So I called my buddy up who lives down the road and said, hey, can I store these logs at your place for a while until I get a chance to process them? And in exchange, we could share the wood. And he said, yep, that's a good deal. So brought them over here, dumped them, and they sat here for a couple of months, and then we finally got around to starting on it last weekend, and split a bunch, and I hauled a dump trailer load to my house, and now I'm just continuing to plow through it, and we're just gonna, divvy this stuff up. And I've already got enough, I've got quite a bit over at the house right now. I'll take some more, but yeah, I got so much wood over there right now that I'm actually going to have to turn around and sell probably some of the stuff that's in the shed. Might as well just sell some of that seasoned stuff off and make some money off of it, and then replenish it with stuff like this. When I first started burning with wood, or burning wood for heat, I should say, I was going out in the woods and I was cutting down trees and I was having to drag logs out of the woods and stuff. And, that just gets really old and it's really inefficient. What I've started doing is, just throughout the year, when we get through my work, whenever we run into a tree project, I just try and finagle it so that I end up with some logs. And, that way I get paid to cut them down. And I end up with the wood, which I can then process at my convenience and fill the woodshed. And so for the last several years, that's been the way I've been doing it, and it's been working out pretty well. And realistically, what I've come to understand is that in order to make enough firewood to last me for a winter, I realistically need only about 1 weekend's worth of solid splitting. If I can just devote like a day or two to just doing nothing but cutting wood and splitting, I'll have enough firewood made for a whole winter, And so I just sort of piecemeal this throughout the year and find little pieces of time here and there, before work, after work, weekends, whatever. And I just work on cutting and splitting wood, and I do it in places and situations where I don't have to actually go out in the woods on my own time and cut down trees and drag them out, try and use the stuff that I already got paid to cut down, and then, cut it up and process it. So we're going to get going here pretty soon and, get started here splitting some of this stuff. This is a mix of like ash and pine mostly. The pine I'm not real interested in having burn in my chimney, but my buddy runs a syrup stove, so he's fine with burning pine for making maple syrup because he doesn't care about creosote or a chimney or anything on that. So yeah, pretty good setup here. And I don't know, I think I've showed the splitter before on the channel, but this is something that me and a couple of buddies built several years ago. It's a real nice system. We put a lot of thought into it. It's got this log loader here, so there's no unnecessary picking up of big heavy pieces. It's got a 5-inch bore main ram cylinder. It's got valve bank here with auto return detents on these for the ram, and it's got a hydraulically adjustable 4-way splitter wedge that you can set the height wherever you want it, so you can split the pieces whatever size you need. 13 horse Honda motor, hydraulic tank off of a street sweeper that we got on Craigslist, and then my buddy, who's a welder and fabricator, did a lot of the metal work and everything, and then we made the tongue removable so that if you're, you want to walk in front of it, you can just take the tongue off so you're not having to walk around the tongue every time. And then my buddy's idea for the axle was, let's not have an axle. Let's just make it kind of like an A-frame or H-frame type thing. And that way, if you're pulling it in the woods, you're not going to get the axle hung up on anything. It sits up nice and high. So that was a neat little thing there. This thing has been rock solid. It's been awesome. This is how I've made all my firewood for the last 7 years, versus what I had to do before, which was splitting by hand, which sucks. But yeah, we're about ready to get to work. I got to section up a few more of these logs and fire this thing up.